Peace. In the name of Allah, I'm Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Ramadan Mubarak. Hempstead and believers and family, just going to take a minute for folks to come in, run a little late, 7 minutes late, but we on time. Okay. Today's episode is titled Reparations for Black America and the Impact on Hempstead. So I just wait a few minutes for you folks to come in. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. I usually don't see these comments and summon them to after the program. Let me know how the audio sounds too. I'm looking now on the iPad. If y'all have any questions, wait a minute. Checking the audio. I can't hear it. All right, I see the audio. Let me know if y'all can hear the audio. Oh, I probably got it silenced. Let me know if y'all can hear the audio. Oh. All right, I hear it. All right, that's peace. Just wait for a couple of minutes for folks to come in. I'm going to leave this iPad in my lap. Spring is here, family. Nice weather out. Sorry about that. Nice weather out. And I pray that y'all weekend as well. This is what was Ramadan. This is the 15th or 16th day of Ramadan. I'm caught up on the reading. I'm reading the Quran, Ramadan. Please practice it. It's the holy month of the Muslims. And it's 30 days of fasting from food, water, and extra activity. It's really focused. It's even our thinking. We shouldn't argue during Ramadan. I notice a lot of haters come after us, the Muslims, especially Nation of Islam Muslims, on the Farrakhan. A lot of Muslims come at us, man, for Ramadan, knowing that they baiting us into breaking our peace. Islam means peace. It's a state of peace, of submission. To submit your will to do the will of Allah. That's what a Muslim is. That's Islam. And that state of submission, that's Islam. The nature we are created. And once you accept knowing to be yourself, you are there for a Muslim. All the righteous are Muslim. In the first creation, Allah Himself. But there's great nature in us. And it's a trial going through life. So Ramadan is what? Denying food, sex, any extra activity. Ramadan, you see our brother, what's his name, Kylie Irving? Sports people, they do not eat and drinking water during heavy sports. And that's really the blessings. You see them, their grace, man. Allah blessed them. Remember Hakeem Olajuwon back in the Houston Rockets decades ago. He used to fast. When he was playing, it just took a little toll on him, but he was playing, man. People don't know that. A lot of this food is bloat, and a lot of food is not nutritional. It's more filler, more material, genetic modified material, non-nutritional material. We got to eat more and more to get the nutrients, and it bloats us up, gives us the obesity. And a lot of times when you fast, you clean all that out of you, and it feels good. You get lightheaded and clear thinking. And the first 2 days of fasting with no food is a trial, but once you get used to it, you love fasting. There's a point in fasting. I've done 5-day fasts, believers, where there was a point in like day 4 after day 3, you just don't have to eat, man. It's not any lust for food. You really don't have those hunger pains. You're just drinking your little water and your coffee. And you just, as long as you're not, doing anything extra, you real at peace, man. And at day 4, you don't even want food no more. I used to wish I could not want food anymore. There's a time when you really don't use the bathroom except for urinating because of the liquids. Dick Gregory used to say, in his lectures, if you drink water, you gotta go pee, and he would go off to the bathroom. I remember the last time I saw Baba Dick Gregory, that was in the 90s at the park near Rochdale Village, the Roy Wilkins Park over there, and he handed out fruit at the beginning of his session. And later on, he knew our nature and our habits and the ways that we were tuned in. Fasting tunes you into our nature, original God. Okay, it's almost that time for me to start. I hope that everyone is well, and please do something in Ramadan. Do something. And if you cannot fast, if you're on medication, you can still take your medications. Do some charity. A good thought is charity. A warm smile is charity. Did you know that? Prophet Muhammad said, greeting people is charity. Being kind and considerate, getting more into your nature instead of this cold caveman society where we all cold. You know this. I seen it on a comedy skit one time. Who was that? I think it was Mad TV. No, it was not Mad TV. The brothers that did Dave Chappelle's comedy, Chappelle show. It was Comedy Central that was supposed to have not Canaan Irons. I forgot the name. Key and Peele. They did the imitation of Barack Obama, how he greeted white people and black people differently. When black people he hugged them, and then when he got to the white people, he gave them that stiff handshake. That's a caveman handshake. We all know that handshake. White men, they give you that hard caveman, his shoulders into it, and you grab your hand heavy. If you grab a man by one hand, that was the show. The handshake was the show with the open hand that I didn't have any weapon. That's from Europe. And we as the righteous, we grasp both hands to show our trust in each other. In a caveman society, sometimes when you turn to your Asiatic black self, you get more in that nature of Islam. Things come out, the best come out, because we are the best. Which brings me right to the subject. Okay, officially, peace in the name of Allah. I'm Aubrey Muhammad. Pray that everyone is well. Family, today's subject is reparations for Black Americans and the impact on Hempstead. Now, Black Americans tied into blacks in the Western Hemisphere, there were millions of others here before Columbus. They hide that fact. We are the original people. We were a global people. We were the Atlantis. There wasn't Atlantis, and they were black. We were here by the millions, working complementary to native Polynesians that migrated here, and Indians from India that migrated here, Mongolians, all who migrated here. There's black and Africans, the Moors, and the original Asiatics. We were here a long time ago. We are those global people. Black people, Black Americans, for hundreds of years, we have the longest unbroken chain of economic sanctions in the world. Hundreds of years, 400 years, since 1555. They lie and say we were brought here in 1619. That was when they came. That was when the Pilgrims, when they came, Jamestown. We were in Florida in the 1400s. That was the whole mission of the Caucasians, the conquistadors, the Crusades. That was the conquering of the Moors, the black Muslims in Europe. We knew the Caucasian. We knew the whole planet. We hid that we were traveling over here from them. There were myths in Europe at the time. El Dorado, the city of gold. We were bringing all that gold. That was the Aztecs. That was the Olmecs. That was the Mayans, the Inca. We had all that gold. And in Europe, it was legendary. And the Caucasians wanted to know, how do you get all that gold? Where's all the spices coming from? We saw how war and murderous they were. Bloodlust and thirst, bloodthirsty and lust for killing, death, and killing for glee. To this day, they still have that characteristic right here in America. Go watch some YouTube video where they're killing coyotes and raccoons and squirrels and even call them pests and stuff, iguanas. Oh look, now normally when you're culling populations of so-called pests, invasive species, you do it. There's your exterminators. You have exterminators, okay, that deal with pests. But go listen. Listen very closely to those videos. And they're killing all those raccoons, all of those coyotes, even pigs and stuff, invasive iguana. They do it with glee, and they're giggling, and it's fun for them. Most of them who do that, they love it. It's a lust for them. They feel satisfied murdering the European Caucasian, the true ones. A lot of us have mixed with them. The ancients have mixed with them to make the Caucasian race pretty broad. The so-called white race Europeans, 250 families out of Europe that are the rulers of this world. They rule the oligarchs. They print the bankers. They've taken the land. These rulers were up in Europe. We had them bottled up. The Moors did. We lied to them. We saw how murderous they were. We said the world is flat. That's where that comes from. Because we didn't want them leaving Europe. Said if you go off the edge, you'll fall off. And he said, well, I'm going to try that. Wherever you going, you risking. You bring back all that gold and spices. We don't like the spices, but we want the gold. And after the Crusades, the Inquisition and the Crusades began in France with the Sufi Muslims in the 1100s. The Crusades began in France. We as the Sufi Muslims, part of the Moor invasion of North Africa going up into Europe, we went into France. And we developed what was called the Perfecti. This was the Sufi Muslims, where they made the Caucasian French men and women under that teaching, Islam, or Sufism, equals. They started treating each other equal. That's where they started, Europeans. When they crushed, they said, we're going to kill these Muslims. And the Jews right along with them, they started in France. With the Perfecti, they wiped them out, to remove us from there. Then they came to Spain, Cordova, to run us back over into Africa. But as they did that, it's a very important moment. 1492, it's called the 64 hidden years of history. Normally we count this from 1555 to 1619, when they were brainwashing us and processing us in the Caribbean to make more meek black slaves to come up to America, which many of us were here anyway. There's 1492. That is Columbus, who was a Laconda Jew. Part of the whole plan. He knew exactly where he was going, because he was guided by the Moors who were traveling back and forth all the time. They lied and said he was going to India. They lied, because they didn't want us to know they were coming to America. They were coming to the land of gold. Sun people. They knew exactly where he was going. 1492, Columbus met with Isabel and Ferdinand in the Alhambra, the mosque in Europe. They were in the mosque. They had conquered us. They had all our maps. They were like, wow, look at this, the land of let's go to the land of gold. They called it El Dorado, and they came. And that was Columbus coming over here. And at 1492, they put had some of the worst treatment of any people in the annals of history. This was black people. And they took spiritual and superstitious people. This is the key. Black people, we don't even talk about this. The huge, grave amount of superstition in West Africa. That's believing in the unseen. That God is in the rock, that he's behind, that he's not within you, that he's up in the sky. The mystery God. There is no mystery God. God is in you. You are God. In essence, original people living in your nature, Islam. They turned us topsy-turvy. From 1492, they went on the Cape Verde Islands. They took black African women, kidnapped them to that island, and just raped. It was a daily life. These were Europeans. Christopher Columbus was a child of this. He was a Laconda Jew who set up trading posts all along the coast of West Africa. And guess what they were trading? They came in with offers. You get more gold for your labor. Come on over, get on these ships. Some of us got on the ships. Then others had slave raids, and other African kings and chiefs and stuff were tricked into guns for rum. It was guns for rum and slaves. Prisoners of war. We didn't treat each other. You can't even compare African slavery to the treatment of what Caucasian did to us in the Western Hemisphere, especially in America. America is the apex. They had wild orgies of murder and sex and rape and inhumanity, cannibalism, all type of sick, twisted. You can't even fathom what he did. And common decency forbids me to block this video if I go into detail as to what they did. Go watch the little movie, Goodbye Uncle Tom. That's a glimpse of what they did. Go read the Willie Lynch letter of psychologically what they did to us and had to maintain us. You couldn't own slaves in America unless you were in a secret society, because you had to have code on the making of a nigger and a Negro. And the only nigger and Negro to this day is the white man, Caucasian, nigger and Negro. And you can tell by the name. He got his slave name. You got to get rid of that slave name. We face the worst treatment of any people. They robbed us. The damage that was done to us. They robbed us of the knowledge of self. The most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the worst prison you could be in is the darkness and ignorance in your own mind. It's worse than a physical cell, jail cell. America was a prison over here, the Western Hemisphere. 16,000 years ago, we were over here. We brought the rebellious Indians over here for the idolatry. And it was prisons over here. Go to the Inca, the Peruvian civilization, up in the mountains up in there. I don't know how we went up into them high heights, but we do everything. We in the North Pole, the South Pole, the valley, the desert, Europe and the cold. We didn't turn pale skin, blonde hair, blue eyed. Black people up in Europe. It was Cheddar Man. It was the Grimaldi black people. Even the Neanderthal, the Cro-Magnon. These were original black people. Something happened. That was selective breeding that turned Caucasians to their state, the pale state that they're in. Lack of rhythm and lack of connection with nature. We were over here. And when you look at the civilizations, we were complemented. So that something happened. Now, we were complemented with native people. Even though we had a prison over here, the world turned topsy-turvy 12,000 years ago. A global cataclysmic event in the scriptures, the Noah's, the flood. It was huge. Global. Came from a common impact. And there was other circumstances, but that main one was the comets hitting the planet, turning everything upside down. That extinct the mastodon, saber-toothed tiger. It's mastodons that were eating food. When that happened, saber-toothed tigers were instantly frozen. Within 12 hours, these animals froze instantly. Russian dogs, Russian in Siberia. The original people, the original Russians was black. The original people up there, and the Mongolians and original black people, well, we were a global people. They would take their sled dogs, and they were related to the Inuit. The so-called Eskimos call it Inuit. And his brother is in Siberia. And white people often argue, say, oh, well, you know, white people up in Europe, they didn't have the vitamin D, they didn't have the sun to get the vitamin D, so we turned pale. Black people up there, Grimaldi didn't turn pale like that. Cheddar Man didn't turn pale like that. None of the original black people did. You did. None of the big cats did. None of the bears did. The bears didn't turn pale skin, blonde hair like that. The wolf didn't. These people, the native Inuit, a Russian, the brother of the so-called Eskimo Inuit people, he would take his dog, them Huskies and the Malamutes, and they would dig up a mastodon. And it would be so well preserved that he would feed his dogs. You know, they had packs of dogs. And the Huskies have a savior complex. Not complex, a savior nature. They like to pull, they like to save. All original people only had a handful of dogs then around the world. They didn't have all these thousands of breeds of dog. Guess who started grafting dogs? So they went extinct. They turned topsy-turvy over here. We were rulers. Now we became like lost. We had like amnesia. If you notice, we don't know the hieroglyphs. We wait for others to interpret things for us. Things that we built, things that we did. Forgotten that it wasn't forgotten. It was a global cataclysmic event. And we stayed here. And our relationship was very complimentary. We had a few skirmishes. Dr. Ivan Van Sertima brought that up. But they came before Columbus. Go get his book. We were the original people, and we no ways treated each other in Africa. A slave in Africa, you kept your name, you kept your religion. After a while, you could buy your freedom or your family. You could have wives and marriage. What they did to us, the making of the nigger and the Negro over here, is beyond the scale. They broke up our families, raped us rampantly. This is how you became a homosexual. It was buck breaking. Go get our brother Tariq Nasheed's documentary, beautifully done, his whole Hidden Color series, buck breaking. That's what they did. They would take the most rebellious black man. What's so rebellious about you stand up for your freedom to be a man of dignity and a human being? It's a cave beast that subdued you and tries to scar your soul. Rape the man right in front, will rape us, tie us up. And white men would rape black men in front of our families, in front of all the people on the plantation, gathering together. Look what we're doing to this rebellious nigga. Rape him. In front of, take his manhood. Outright. This happened to us. They raped men, women, and children in front of our faces. They did it outright. Most of us got scared from it. Some of us didn't. Some of us we kill them. Some of us we got to them, we kill them. That turned Denmark Lee's. How come these aren't heroes on your wall? Some of our freedom fighters. You got your enemy on your wall. And this is why you use each other as a target. You put your heroes on the wall. Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser, Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman. Put the heroes on the wall. And put your enemies as targets. But you don't, you have each other as targets. Because you don't face the pain and the trauma and the history that happened to us. This is new, this is revealing to some of y'all. Some of you know, you're too frightened to speak about it, because you're at the job all day. Your co-workers and stuff under that microaggressions. That's the worst racism to be under. It's underneath the surface. Shh, be quiet, don't say nothing. Something come on the news, you can't even comment. It brutalized us daily for hundreds of years. And this is the problem. This is the problem that happened, that we don't recognize, this trauma. What the damage they did, this was daily. Imagine being brutalized, raped, terrorized, horrified. Just outright. Go watch the movie Django Unchained. That was correct. Quentin Tarantino put it into his specific Pulp Fiction genre and that goriness. But it's historically correct in what they did. Beat us to death, feed us to the dog, ripping us apart. And how Calvin Kennedy, the slave master, felt nothing about it, numb to our suffering. Every day. Not only did they teach us, well, you a nigger and a Negro, you're nothing. Except for the white man, except my Christianity. You hate everything about slavery except that slave form of Christianity we proudly carry today. Luckily, a lot of people lose it. It's very weak today. That slave form of Christianity. We the original Christians. I'm a Marian Christian. I'll talk about that later. That'll be another podcast. That's a whole podcast. Many of you are Pauline Christians. Any type of Christian that the slave master made you, he would change your religion like that. The minute he sold you to another plantation. If you were a Baptist named John, if it was a Baptist slave master named John, you became his Baptist slave, John's son. That's why we have old names with the son. Some of them have some, but that's us. If his no good ass sold you to Williams, who was a Methodist slave master in Alabama, you became a Methodist and you became William's son. You were his son. That's how you get all these slave names. We were his son, his children. And they called us son, boy, gal. That's still in the lingo. Not only did he teach that, go read the Willie Lynch letter. Not only did he teach that, he beat it into us. You gotta understand this, family. There are things that are subtle, there are things that are overt. Learning is accelerated learning, there's advanced learning, there's the Hempstead public school system, which is miseducation, which is dumbed down learning, dummy learning, to make you a dumbed down person. Woodrow Wilson said they would do that to us, all of them. The New York State of Regions, that founder, Clinton, he said we're going to have separate educations for y'all. Want to make a dumb nigga that ain't worth nothing, but like a useful, useless mule only for labor and can't think. It bred us like that. And then not only were we his nigga and Negro, inferior, couldn't do nothing, don't know nothing, couldn't read, couldn't write. And if we got caught, it was beatings. That was just ridiculous. He has a saying. Go watch the movie Django Unchained. Calvin Coolidge, just a point where he says, where he has Ellie, what's her sister's name? Washington, the sister that played Hildy. Jamie Foxx is the hero in that. Django, and I almost said Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Candy, the slave master, was showing the marks on her back, Hildy's back. I forgot her name, Washington. It'll come to me. She played in Ray too. Good dude. Karen, well, I forgot her name. And she played the character Hildy. He whipped her, and he was showing off the scars at the kitchen table. He said, look, these niggas are tough. They always spoke of how tough we are and how numb. We are more sensitive than them. They the ones that's numb. They numb to us, inflicting pains on us. And they would inflict pain on us freely. Doing experiments on black women. Go down to them plantations in New Orleans. Watch the movie Goodbye Uncle Tom. Some Italian brothers made that movie back in the 70s, in the early 70s. The second part is very, they change the narrative. They make it like the Black Panthers or how black men will respond. In a modern day, that's irrelevant. But the actual slave scenes, those were actual scenes from a diary that men visiting America did from Europe. I believe they were it. I believe the producers of that film that was banned in American theaters. And Papa Doc made it in Haiti. Goodbye Uncle Tom. There's a plantation in New Orleans. That's a sex plantation. And the man talked about how I take a little mix with that. I mix a little with this. And I make me a fine concubine. These were Jezebels and black women just bred for certain type of children. They would groom children into homosexuality, pedophilia, to feed their sick nature. This happened to us. And it not just happened, we were brutalized, daily terrorized. To this day, black people have that fear of being brutalized and terrorized. That's where it comes from. That's why we don't have militants all over America. It's a militant group that'll spring up. Most of us pacifists. We got lured into the church. Even these these Negro organizations, the NAACP, it was founded on making us passive. That was the whole gimmick of getting us over here. They took the most meekest, broken slaves from Jamaica. That was a way station. Once they processed us there, they took us to New Orleans, and here, and New Orleans was just bad, but here it was the most docile, meek slaves. But you can't keep a good people down, and our warriors rose up, and we killed them when we could. Shout out to our warriors, our ancestors that fought for their freedom. They live in us. In New Orleans, they would shape a slave. Imagine just being raped at will. You can't. So we forget that. So we have amnesia about those events. We don't teach it. It's not in the schools. This must be taught. I had to go study this myself, collect all this information. That was God Bashim. And not Camp Summer, we were in Queens Work Release, put me on the Chancellor Williams and other black books. He saw I was reading J.A. Rogers. He used to study me and stuff. God was magnificent, man. May Allah be pleased with him. Brother Jamal Shabazz has a picture of him up on his page. And I said, yeah, that's the God, man. And told me to not just read the Negro history books, but go into real black studies. That's when I got put on to Dr. John Henry Clark, and I actually went to go see them back in the late 80s and 90s. I went to go see John Henry Clark, Ben Jakanen, and Dr. Frances Cress Wells, and I missed her at Brooklyn College. Me and the brother, they were sold out, but we just hung around her. I saw her on other occasions. Dr. Shahrazad Ali. And I never saw Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. I believe Diop had passed, and Chuck Conner Diop, but I started reading these conscious books. I had to do that. We have to do this. That trauma affected us, man, like nobody else. Nobody went through that. Being brutalized every day. That's what happened to us. We couldn't speak our language. We couldn't marry families. We couldn't keep our families. You couldn't marry who you want. You could be sold instantly. Them families broken apart. Go watch Roots. We couldn't know our religion. We had, like I just showed you, we had to study his religion. We couldn't know our culture. Nothing. That robbed us of everything. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said the worst prison is the darkness, the worst form of slavery is not how they had us in chattel slavery, where they held us hostage on plantations for hundreds of years, brutalizing us, raping us, physically making us into beasts of burden, mindless. They sounded our minds with pork. They fed us out of pork sprouts, scraps of pork. It sounded our minds. It gave us enough to think, but not enough for us to be critical thinkers. Pork sounds your mind. Did you know that? The worst slavery is the mental slave. Our brother Naeem Akbar speaks of the psychological change, the mental change, the mental shackles on the mind. Is worse than chattel slavery. I told that to Jeffrey Daniels in the Village Board. That jackass turned his back to me. The truth hurts. Sister Soldier said, if the truth hurts, you'll be in pain. If the truth drives you crazy, you'll be insane. God damn it. The worst prison you could be in, the worst form of slavery, and the worst robbery that could be committed is to rob a person of the knowledge itself. Because with the knowledge itself, you can get your freedom. You'll stop being enslaved. You'll have your culture. You know who you are. You're Islam. You're in your nature. And you stand up and you kill anyone that gets in the way of you practicing that to the supreme Allah, the originator of the heavens and the earth. And we give obeisance to whom we rely on, whom we trust. And if you submit and you manifest that, I can trust that in you. Every day for hundreds of years. America was a secret. They were hiding it. They lied. Columbus lied, said he was on his way to India. He knew where he was going. He didn't want the other Europeans to know he was coming over there. The other ones also thought we're going to fall off the end of the earth if we go out there. That's when Portugal, Spain, England, all the rest of them started coming to gobble up America. And it's the English that got here. The English and the Germans. English and German, Caucasian Americans are these brutalizers of us. Those are the core. Those are the wickedest people on the planet. White Americans, Caucasians from Britain and Germany. These are the Britons are the masterminds. The Germans were the ones that brutalized. Those are the ones that love murdering us. The English do too. But the Germans were given free rein. Go ahead, dummy. And murder at will. Because when your numbers get too much, they murder them off to send them off to die in war. World War I, World War II, even the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. Most of those wars were to kill off the brutes because they're just savage. They love murder and death. That's why they're police. They love being the police, policing you. And you're silly enough to let them police us. We were robbed of all of that. No other person was robbed of that. You can't compare Africa slavery to American slavery. We were robbed. They made us making up the nigger and the Negro. It was to disgrace us. His arms are too short to box with God. He couldn't reach God, so he got his people. He got us. The tribe of Shabazz, the Makas, original people of the planet Earth. This happened for hundreds of years, man. Then, after chattel slavery, what happened? Well, let me go in and see if there's any questions here yet. No, I don't see any. If you have any questions, please let me know. But this is the history. Are you teaching this in school? We have to raise these questions. And in school, let the children think. Let them think over this. Debate this. After chattel slavery, what happened? Excuse me. After chattel slavery, what happened? We left the plantations. We left white folks. We knew we weren't accepted amongst them. But what they ran, and we went anywhere near them. We knew right away we had to keep our distance from them. They were like snakes and vipers. And even the so-called good ones, they didn't move in their neighborhoods. Good white people that stopped slavery, the Union, they got reparations. the white slave masters that lost their slaves. We couldn't go to good white people of the Union to live next to them. What was so good about it? We formed all black towns, 60 all black towns after slavery. The most famous was Black Wall Street, Tulsa, T-Town, Oklahoma. And it was Rosewood. Go watch the movie Rosewood. Our brother John Singleton made an awesome movie about Rosewood. And even back in the 70s, Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte, Buck and the Preacher. We had a few movies around it, like talking about how they raised all black towns, man. Wicked ass devils. We built 6 in Los Angeles, all over the country, 60 major ones, but there were hundreds of smaller ones. The Caucasians didn't accept us. We had hundreds of these towns. These bastards haunted us. They hunted us to haunt us for our souls. That's all they do is haunt us. They raised every last one of them black towns. It was all planned. It was pogroms. Pogroms with the government, bankers, planners. It's the same planners gentrifying you today, devitalizing you today, keeping you nomadic today. They kept us nomadic then. And see, look how successful they are. You have to repair this damage. This is what reparations are for. After slavery, they promised us 40 acres and a mule. They gave the Homestead Act. They gave hundreds of millions of acres of land, the Caucasians, so that they could build generational wealth. And they took land from us, millions of acres from us. They reneged on the 40 acres and a mule. That was General Sherman, wasn't that Sherman? They gave that general order for the 40 acres and a mule. If you know if I'm saying his name incorrectly, please put in the comments. We lost all of our land. We built up. After they raised those all black towns, when I mean raised, I mean they burnt them down. They murdered us at will. They hunted us. Some black men were lynched in the World War I uniforms. They thought they would get recognition. I'm a war soldier, I fought for you. They lynched him, especially. Ripped the uniform off. Burnt him alive. That happened all across the country. It's the same people. There's no good or bad white people. The institution of white supremacy is what it is. They raised those all black towns, raped us, murdered us, took all our possessions. They just had a free-for-all, took everything. Go watch Rosewood. They were envious. It's all planned. Said, that nigga got a piano. I don't even have a piano. And the white boy told him, Rosewood, oh, you don't know how to play a piano. Ignorant white men, even ignorant, dumb Germans. Brutes, some of them Irish in New York, immigrants. Immigrants came later. There were no immigrants then in the 1800s. Here. It was just us. What did they do when they raised them towns? After they murdered us and they sent us back to plantations. They had compensated the slave masters that lost their slaves. They gave them reparations. Caucasian white slave masters in this country got reparations for losing their slaves. So did Haiti. Napoleon and Toussaint had to pay reparations for defeating Napoleon, defeating France and Haiti. That's why Haiti is suffering to this day in poverty. They ran us back to plantations, but we did what? Sharecropping. Meanwhile, Homestead Act, they got all of this land, they're prospering, and we ran back into sharecropping. Where at the end of the year, we had these 1,000,000 acres of land. We thought we were sharing with these no good bastards. We go to his cousin's general store. He had a general store. He had the seeds. He had all the materials. And what happened? At the harvest time, we wound up owing his no good ass. Go watch Roots. There's a part where after slavery and Reconstruction, which was all symbolic, Reconstruction, Negroes and power is no more potent than you got Barack Obama, not a black man from America, and Kamala Harris, not a black woman from America. Our sister at Supreme Court, we already had a Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who was a seller. That's nothing. Matter of fact, he was a detriment to us. Clarence Thomas, one of the Negroes, got contempt for us. He respected the militants and the nationalists. Did you know that? Clarence Thomas gave a shout out to Minister Farrakhan. Years ago said, I respect Farrakhan. They respect and they love us for our militancy and our strength. But you're so weak, you want acceptance amongst these people and you can't see the system behind it. Sharecropping. You're like, damn. Raised all these families. My great-great-great-grandmother, Nancy Miller, the Miller Plantation. We don't know if she was on the plant. Families are so ashamed of that history. All of us are. They try to distance themselves. They won't even know. Most of us. Some of us do. We got our roots. We connected, man. My great-great-great-grandmother, Nancy Miller, down in the Miller Plantation, got a slave name. Had my great-great-grandfather, her son, Wiley Miller, who my granddad's named after, Buddy, in North Carolina, born a slave. 1855 in the plantations. After emancipation, which was not freedom, because we didn't free ourselves, another man emancipated us. Put over the scheme you're playing on us to this day. He had 12 children because we were on the farm. Don't you know where all them children come from? Big black families from the South, all these big black families. That came from slavery, where a black woman, if she had 14 children, she would be free. And you wouldn't even be free. Can you comprehend that? A black woman, a no good slave master, tell his slave, a black woman, give me 14 little nigger baby slaves and you'll be free. Free to where? Where would she go? She'd be on the same plantation, or she could leave. It was all a trick in the trap because we couldn't read. We didn't have papers anyway. A bounty hunter catch you, put you on another plantation. But she did it so that she could help our children. She wanted to help our children. She doesn't understand the nature of this demon. She wanted to help her babies. That's where all them big black families come from. The huge big black families where we're on those farms. Those numbers came from a dime a dozen. When they stopped slavery, they couldn't import slaves from Africa anymore. They had to produce incest. The sons would put the brown paper bag over our mother's head, and the sons would rape the mothers, produce them or just produce, so-called challenged children, biologically challenged children, so-called mentally retarded children. You know those defects you get from not splitting your gene pool out, not spreading your gene pool out. My great-great-granddad had 12 children because they worked in the farm. But at the end of the year, you owe this devil. You owe him some slick trend. Oh, the seed cost this much, and I borrowed that money, and I lent you the money. These are wicked-ass people, man. This is what happens to our people. Wicked-ass people. Oh, the grain went up this year. And the money I used that I fronted you has high interest. That's why Jesus said no usury in the temple, and they whooped their asses out of the temple. No usury. The Muslims, we have no usury. True Muslims. We don't collect interest on loans. Most of the best Muslims just give it away. Then he had, my great-great-granddad, Wally Miller, had, one of them children was Doc Miller. That was my great-granddad. He had 14 children. He's working on farms. Down in the farms, the children help you on the farms. We wound up with nothing. Little stuff. We didn't grow, buying more land, expanding. Everybody left it there. He said, man, the hell with this. I ain't working on no damn farm, for nothing. I owe this cracker. Who could justify and retaliating against them when we did? North Carolina had, this was in Mount Gilead, North Carolina, near Troy, I think 40 miles east of Charlotte. There was Durham, North Carolina, one of them all-black towns, very successful, raised and ran out of there. So my great-granddad, Doc Miller, had 13 children. Yeah, Wiley had 12, he had 13. And then one of them children was Wiley Miller Buddy, my granddad. And he had, I think, 7 children. I always get that confused. My mom's always correct me. One of them was my mother, Dorothy Miller. That's the big families we had. And all the while, we didn't grow our property. There was no prosperity. It was being ripped off and robbed. We're lucky to survive. There's 4 acres down there now. My uncle got it down there. 4 little shrimpy acres. I think my Uncle Roosevelt sold some timber on there the last time. I'll be pleased with him. People say I remind them of him, my Uncle Roosevelt. He was a businessman, always a protector of the family. You don't have too many protectors today, man. Fight and hurt each other. So who's gonna grow up in that? That was sharecropping. We left that. We got robbed again. Millions of acres of land. Robbed. Black people in America, in this country. Then we left sharecropping. Another damn game. We had Jim Crow laws, black laws that constrained us and restricted us. We need compensation for this. Everyone else living in freedom. Immigrants coming to the country. We were lured from the plantations into the cities during the so-called Great Migration. It's another ploy. They lured us into the cities, into hostile white labor. These immigrants were coming in. This is where the black cheap labor, we were the porters, we worked on the railroads, we worked in the hotels, and we were the garbage men, and we were the waiters, and we were all the servants now. We went into the cities, and we were confronted by hostile white unions. The racist white unions to this day, they formed because of us. The white unions were formed because of black labor to say, look, you're just cheap labor, you just pay them anything. Matter of fact, they were mad at Henry Ford for paying his black workers a little more. Henry Ford paid his black workers a little more than everybody else. And the other whites were mad at him. That's like having a slave and you weren't a Mason or weren't in a secret society where you learn that little Greek sick higher learning. That's a child's learning. They're children of us. Get out of the Greek fraternities and that Greek thought. It's a caveman thinking. We are the Asiatic gods from the Nile Valley, Indus Valley. We are Atlantis, the Atlanteans, originally Asiatic gods, the tribe of Shabazz. We are mighty great people, and we will be ourselves. We're down in cities now. All this was plotted against us, man. Look at what happened to the cities. They devitalized them. They devitalized the cities. Mainly Detroit. We went to Detroit. And all of these immigrants that say, oh, I came here and the people are lazy and, you know, we need to be motivated or something. You dumbass, we built this country. We built all that labor they abused from us and took from us. We made America into a superpower, into a mountain of gold. Now here you come with your sorry ass, an immigrant, into a wicked ass country with the most wickedest people on the planet. I could see if it was a righteous country, and you were coming into righteousness. It's a wicked ass exploitive country. It robbed everything from the Native American, took all the land, millions and millions of acres of land, and gave it away to Homestead Act. You get it for almost nothing. White people, but black people were denied that. Just like gun rights. The NRA was formed. Black people could not own guns. We were disarmed. They raised the all-black town. When we went to the GI Bill, after we fought in the war, but they wicked asses went and fought Nazis, and we were segregated in World War II, and went and fought for in Germany against so-called Nazis, whom Hitler modeled Nazis. They modeled their racism off American racism, off of white American, white supremacy. Was a model for South Africa and Germany, Nazism. You wicked asses. You immigrants come over here because you want more gold for your labor. There's nothing honorable in you, nothing noble in you, immigrating to a wicked country like this. We need reparations for that. Immigration must stop. We need land reparation, repatriation. Immigration must stop. And Native American, Black American communities and land and history, immigration must stop. It is a racist ploy, an economic clash design so we don't face the oligarchs. And there's 250 families out of Europe that control this world through the banking system. Okay, economic hitmen. We in the cities going up against hostile white labor unions that hate us. Want to pay our workers more. You paying them niggas that little tiny salary. Pay us a living wage. Pay us money. That's where the unions come from. They formed against us. Now we in the cities, they tricked us. Everything we invested in the cities, they devitalized the city. Go look at the Bronx in Manhattan. Now they just did it to Detroit. Detroit is recent, but early on, New York City in the 50s and 60s, in the 60s, in the 70s, all the way up to the 80s, all that was by design. Once we were in the cities, we got the labor, we were lured. They gentrified the cities. They just finished gentrifying Harlem and Brooklyn. All that was part of a plan. All of it is a planner's deal to keep us a permanent underclass. Oh, excuse me. All of it was designed to keep us a permanent underclass. Now they lured us into the suburbs. My mother came up here. In 1961 in Hempstead, it was mainly black. Hempstead went, this happened all across the country too. Hempstead went from white, go look at the picture I put up. No, that's my cookbook. On Soul of Hempstead, I have a picture of Hempstead. It was a shopping mecca in the 50s. Hempstead was white. Go ask Don Ryan and all the early, you see the other Hempstead groups, Heritage of Hempstead, Historic Hempstead. Go look at how white Hempstead was. Just go look at the pictures. It was predominantly white, Caucasian. They did what was called blockbusting and redlining. The blockbusting started, they owe us for blockbusting and redlining. All of this they owe us, scalping the neighborhood. Blockbusting. One black person would move on the block in Hempstead, and this happened all over Long Island. That whole block would move and within like a year. 1-2 years, Hempstead, the largest village in America. There are other, Freeport and the other ones claim, but Hempstead is not 55,000 people, it's way more than that. So-called undocumented immigrants. nothing more than laborers coming to get more gold for their labor. They cannot come into contact with foundational black Americans who need reparations. You can't compete with them, man. These immigrants from other countries. It's a brain drain. The Asians, the Chinese. These are the most brilliant of their people. They're the worst people on the planet. They have all that talent and they're sucking the energy from their countries to come here, to show out, to live a luxury life, to walk through the mall. Walk through Roosevelt Field Mall. Go walk through Roosevelt Field Mall. See who shows out there. See who's walking in a languished life. It's immigrants, man. First generation immigrants that went to medical school, doctors, and they're trotting through there. Some of us are in there doing that. Mentally dumb, deaf and blind Negroes taking our money, just throwing it away. I go in there sometimes to meet people most of the time. It's a black bakery there, black brother. And the other one bakery there, I think the Cheesecake Factory, that was the Grand Lux. That was a grand restaurant. I've been in there. Not no more, but he stopped what he was doing. They tried to ban that brother from selling cheesecake in his little bakery in Roosevelt Field. But not too many black businesses there. These people are brain drain that come in amongst us. We can't compete with them. They in the medical field. Go in Northwell. Go in St. John's. Go in NYU. Go in these medical institutes. We ain't up in there. Native black people. It's these immigrants. They have these positions because they want a future for them. And they're put here as a buffer. Very simple. So that you fight the buffer. Look at those people. They're taking our jobs. So that you don't fight them 256 families out of Europe, the oligarchs and the bankers. And you don't redistribute their wealth to yourself. So you're competing against a person who wants more gold for their labor. And all this mountain of gold that was built up was off our backs, our blood, sweat, and tears. Every last drop of it. Cotton was king. And we were the cotton pickers. The Civil War was not fought to stop slavery. The richest people on this planet were white slave masters in the South. And the Northerners couldn't compete with them. So they started bringing in immigrants and they said, we must end this. That was the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln even said that. I wish it wasn't over you. You inferior. You need to be good, whether you're a slave or not. In fact, he tried to send us to Liberia. I want to get rid of you. You're such a trouble. Abraham Lincoln. Good old Abraham Lincoln. Now we in the cities, lured into the suburbs. Hempstead. It went from all white. Go look at the Soul of Hempstead. Go join the group. Soul of Hempstead, the group on Facebook. Go join it. It was mainly white, then instantly turned black. My mother came up here in 61 with a girlfriend, Marcella. They were doing jobs. What were black women doing during this time? Cleaning white folks' home. Over in the 5 towns, and Levittown was a little racist town. Some of them still having their deeds. Don't sell your house to black folks or Jews. Because they call us colored then. In Levittown. Was a little racist. Robert Moses was a racist. Right? He built Long Island in the parkways so that black people from the inner cities getting on the buses wouldn't come to the parks, come enjoy the parks. Wicked ass. And this is how they do it. It's in the infrastructure, man. It's just racist. He built the parkway. Look, the parkways only have passenger cars to this day because of racists. A no good racist, Robert Moses. Why's his name on the park? Lowered the bridges so that buses couldn't come out to the parks on Long Island. Beautiful parks out here. Lido Beach, Galvin Beach, I believe that was, all the way out east. They get it even better out east on the Atlantic side, not the northern Rocky side. The northern side, Long Island got a Rocky, Washington or Jefferson, even out east. It's all right in some areas. There's a rocky shore. The sandy beaches is Atlantic with the waves and the nice beaches. Jones Beach, which is overdone. Well, you know, it's overvisited, Jones Beach. But there's other more quiet ones. Canatucker Park, and it's a whole bunch of parks. One of them is named after Robert Moses, I believe. And he forbid the buses from getting on the parkways because who was riding the buses? We were. So he didn't say we don't want niggers and black people in the parks with white folks. There's something wrong with them. They have to keep their distance from you. The buses couldn't go travel, so that's how he stopped us. All of Long Island is like that. Long Island is the most racist, segregated counties, Nassau and Suffolk, in America. As a matter of fact, in the 80s, they did a study where it was worse than South Africa. South Africa under apartheid. Right before Nelson Mandela became president. That apartheid state of South Africa, it was racist. They said, oh, because it's racist, you in this part of town. But in America, not only were we segregated on Long Island, they would build a highway to separate the black and the white. They would build the Long Island Railroad, the train tracks would separate white and black areas. A brook, a waterway. They would build things, parks, build physical barriers to black and white areas. They made it worse. And they are worse because they hide and act like they are friends. And they sit up selling us dreams and promises of diversity and inclusion. We came into the suburbs. Don't you know they put a black tax on us immediately? In Hempstead, Martin Luther King Drive, those so-called projects were called Wilco, get a tax break, a pilot. They don't pay any taxes. The Hempstead homeowners, which many black people were in the 60s and the 70s. We were buying all the homes in the 70s. We bought a whole bunch of homes. Black people in Hempstead who've been paying other people's taxes for 20, 30 years, you are owed reparations for a black tax. That's a black tax. That goes all around the country. That affects all of the country, all of black America. If you're in a suburb and you're a property owner, a homeowner, and there's some apartments, and those IDA boards just do it for any business that they decide to subsidize. That's not lucrative, that doesn't produce any benefits, that doesn't make you salaried enough to buy a house. That's the whole purpose of getting the tax break and the pilot, is that you're supposed to stimulate the economy and produce jobs. The IDA board tax breaks and pilots in Hempstead, it's over 31 of them, and they're going to add 35 more. Revitalizing this village, gentrifying it, displacing us further. They've already displaced thousands. Hundreds have lost their homes. If you've been paying property taxes 20, 30 years in Hempstead, they owe you $200,000, $300,000 right there. You've been paying wealthy investors, wealthy developers, wealthy apartment owners, wealthy supermarket owners, wealthy car dealership owners. You've been paying these people property taxes, especially the apartment owners. They're the most vicious ones because they don't produce nothing. It's like 5 jobs in the apartment, the most. And it's not even us. And if you do get a job, a janitor or the manager, that ain't enough for you to buy a house. It doesn't. They're taking your homes. It's another swindle. It's another scheme that we need reparations from. In Hempstead alone, this is why I'm bringing this up, to show the impact on Hempstead. Reparations. They have to repair what they did. They busted up our families. They put these complexes in us. That stuff is burned its DNA, some of that fear. Did you know because they raised them all black towns, black people to this day, I've heard family members say this. Don't say you have anything when the government asks you. They hide their assets to make it look like they had nothing because black people had to guarantee that they didn't have any possessions to these no good ass damn Caucasians. Or else they would take your property. They would take from you. Wouldn't give you nothing. And I heard this in my own family growing up on East Grand. I remember this. They had to hide from this. Remember Claudia, James Earl, Jones and Diane Carroll. Remember that? When the wicked ass Caucasian welfare social worker come to the house, James Earl Jones had to hide in the closet. Most black families had to do that. When black, they would incentivize not having a man present, busting up your families, knowing that's the strength in our family, knowing about our people, knowing that's the strength of our people, our families, our block, and our community. And within that, we have extended family. That is our strength. That's a cushion. Something happened, extended family take care of you. If you're sick, someone will help you take care of your stuff for that little week or 2 weeks. Something happened, you fall down. You could rent a room from one of your family, your neighbors. All of that we used to do in the 70s. I remember it vividly. My Uncle Chester used to rent a room at the house. His brother, later on, he was pimping, renting a room. And now later on, I knew him in the street. He was pimping. He remembered me. I ain't gonna say his name. We were in Nassau County Jail together in the 80s. And I was in the street from 79 to 86. I was wild, off the chain. But luckily, I was constrained enough because I was affected by the 5% Nation. That was IGON. Gave me the knowledge of self. Me and his brother Mike. In I think it was the winter of 79 to 80, somewhere around that time, he got out of Nassau County Jail. And he was over on Miller or Union, across from the train tracks, going towards Main Street. And those houses over there, and Mike's family was there, and he had got out of jail, and he had a stained glass painting. It said, "The black man is God, the black woman is queen." It was a beautiful stained glass painting, and he was teaching us some of the lessons. And he gave me and Mike the same attribute. To this day, I share the attribute with Brother Mike. We called Mike Mad Dog back then. That was me, Johnny, and Isaac. And Mike, we was hanging out on the Roosevelt Field, stealing, doing wild stuff. And God, he said, it was a garden-like scene, the black man and the black woman, majestic garden-like paradise scene that he drew in the clouds in the gardens. And he named me Prince, and he named Mike Jamal. And he said, your names are Prince Jamal to this day. Did I say that right? Am I Jamal or he Prince? I believe, yeah, I was Prince, and that's Jamal to this day. We both had attribute. That was a long time ago. Getting my memory jogged here. That was like the winter of 79, 80, I believe it was. That's a brother who took his time to teach us. That's the teacher. And he had something, I'll never forget it, because he had something in his hand to remind me. He had a visual instruction right in his hand. The black man is God. The black woman is queen. Earth, he said, in that garden scene. And if you owned a home and you paying those taxes, that's a black tax. That devitalizes us. This is what's happening to us. We have to stop it. And if you just neutral on this, I don't know if you're just learning about it. I've heard others speak of we get high interest loans. This is how they're getting us. We pay high car notes, interest loans across the board. They're like economic hitmen. We are the people with the longest standing economic sanctions against us, and these are those sanctions. It's a black tax. And now that we think we have arrived. You in Brooklyn, you're in Manhattan, you couldn't wait to get to Long Island. This was in the 70s. We all came out. We got you how it was beautiful in Hempstead, but there was an undercurrent happening. They were taxing us out, robbing us. They owe us $200,000 to $300,000 alone. If you've been a homeowner in Hempstead since the 70s, paying that black tax. Now they're gentrifying Hempstead. They devitalized us, having us paying other people taxes. They need compensation for that. Hempstead alone is unique because of that compensation for all. That's all Native Black Americans, immigrant, blacks from Africa and Caribbean, mainly Caribbean right here, and even Latina and white All, even Caucasian people, you pay some of the highest property taxes. And the black Republicans, dummies, they done took your homes. And you was the main one supporting this policy, telling us how we ought to be so proud of James Scholar as the first black mayor. You love that damn first stuff, man. Who were the Olmecs? Ramses III. We are great grand people. We did everything first. Stop being such children. Act like you just coming into the world new. They removed the darkness from your head. Don't you know they bragged about that in Congress? Said we have removed all the light from the slave's head, from black people's minds. We have removed all the light. They have. So now you think any little glimmer or spark is new, is them. I've accomplished something. You got a house, you're paying other people's taxes. They planned on, they taking that house. They taking all our houses in Hempstead. There's a few of us survivors. We have over 30 civic associations. Goddamn, that it has dwindled down to 4. One is Revelant, not country estates. It's Ingram Estates, which was the most predominant one. It's the country club estates over by the golf course on the West Hempstead border. All by design. And now Wayland Hobbs, a sellout, is looking to rebuild civic associations and tennis associations. And he wants them all in line with his agenda. He don't like people bucking him. Because he's a tool himself. And when you show him or you uproot him, it sort of like exposes what's going on behind the scenes. This is a tragedy. Wayne Hall was an Jamaican immigrant from Jamaica. Doesn't give a damn about black people in Hempstead. He's the ones that turned over this gentrification project. He's the one that ignited. He was proud of it. Gonna make a new Hempstead. That means black people will not be here. If you're poor, they have contempt for you to this day. Our own black organizations are sellouts. All of them since their inception. The NAACP, that was W.E.B. Du Bois. He was with the Niagara Club initially when he formed that. Those Jews who founded the NAACP and all them other black organizations, the Urban League, all of them, none of them are beneficial to the NAACP. Their program was non-economic. Get black people to don't let them build anything for themselves. Just let them fight for social justice, inequality, and integration. It's a trick. The integration within the suburbs, and you still didn't integrate. Not only are they gentrifying Hempstead, not only did they devitalize it, not only was there white flight with proof, they're not going to live with you. You can't observe this. You can't see this. They do white flight. They move out. They devitalize us. And they take our properties. Not only are they not going to live with you, you can't go into their neighborhoods and be in equity with them, because equality, that's a false concept with them. Powerless people can never be equal with the people in power who print the notes, who print all these empty Federal Reserve notes. They print trillions and trillions of notes, put value to them, give them to their friends, give you a little, and wonder why you live in the way that you live. And they mock you. They capitalize off your ignorance and your lust for not being able to see through the system. They never were looking at it. It was always a trick. They knew good and well they were not going to integrate with us 100 years ago when they forced us to build those all-black towns. We were indirectly forced to build those all-black towns. And they're not integrating with you now. Right now, white people moved out of Hempstead through fear, white flight, which is a disease, man. A disease we need to talk about in school. We need to have this discussed in black arenas. This nature of Caucasian people, the fear of genetic annihilation, the Kronos complex. It's medical terms, psychological terms. That sickness they have towards black people, black men in particular. Not only are they not going to integrate with you, they trick you into taking our land, 32 acres they just stole. A greedy developer, Don Monte. They're taking your homes, they're devitalizing you, you're losing your businesses, and then when they gentrify you to build a new city, it is going to be segregationist. It's a Negro board, black faces, selling us the idea, and a school board, irrelevant to black nationalism and building culture. They're irrelevant to us. They don't discuss this. They're going to import a racist city, a transparent. It'll be transparent segregationist. It's urban. They're going to build those luxury apartments. They built one affordable house. They said, oh, that's for you, no affordable housing. 16 of them. You can't even move in the Metro 303 now. They're raising the rents. It's devitalization. It's segregation. It's economics. To print all the money, knowing that we don't pool our resources. We're one of the worst people to pool our resources. Black people don't do it anymore, like we did in the 70s. We used to even send some of that money back down south. You like to show out too much, individualism. You like to brag about stuff. This is why that first that gets to you. You love it. Obama was a narcotic. The first black president of America was Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. He is the first black president, and they had Obama murder him under that wicked witch, Hillary Clinton, and she cackled about it. It's a trick. Integration is not going to work. It was never authentic anyway. It was a trick. Everything they do is a trick. So now we in the suburbs, we in Hempstead. You're on the board, you feel so good. The first this, the first that. You know, say dumb crap like this, man. First that. First Supreme Court Justice, first woman. You're so proud of symbolism. And you haven't been repaired. And you're hiding from yourself. You have cultural amnesia as to who you are. Your great potential. You think everything that you do is under Caucasians. This is why you agree to the first this, the first that. This is what they owe us reparations for. Reparations is repair. We're in these towns. And Hempstead in particular got 25,000 black people on the books, on record. It's probably more off the books. They owe us reparation on that. Now here's Hempstead's unique position in reparations. We are 25,000, so they owe us about like 12 billion. That's 500,000 each. And 500,000 each is just a base number, because there are options for those of us who I believe that who want land and who want institutions. We want land, institutions. We want separation. Some of us want the independence of dual citizenship. That's land in Africa. Africans owe us reparations. Africans owe us repatriation. Motherland, my people. You owe us repatriation. You owe us land. Millions of acres in Africa. As a part of this, it's part of the American government. This claim of reparations, I'm speaking specifically, is towards the American government. But the 500,000, but within that should be the option of land in Africa or the Caribbean, but mainly here. And as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, get this paper, the Final Call newspaper. You see me with it all the time. Grab your copy from me. And this is going to be backwards because it is selfie screen, but this is Muhammad Speaks. It says the Muslim program. What the Muslims want is, I think, is reversed. And this is the back page of what used to be Muhammad Speaks back in the 60s. That was first published. The main publisher, that was Malcolm X. He composed it, but the publisher always the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was the author and the owner, but Malcolm X put that all together with pictures and stuff and little stories. He started Muhammad Speaks. That back page was what the Muslims want, what the Muslims believe. What we want is land. Mineral-rich land. We want mineral-rich land. Excuse me. Mineral-rich land. My tissue. No. Mineral-rich land with an outlet to the sea. And the American government should back us with the technical know-how, technical supplies, and military know-how and supplies for 20 to 25 years. Now, for every black American that built the country, this is unique to us. This is reparations for us from America. $500,000 each. And with the option that you get land here or in Africa. Because that 500,000, see, well, most of us are laborers and consumers. We're foolish with our money. It's bad enough you're poor, but then when you're foolish with your money, goddamn, you get into debt. Most of us gonna get swindled from that money. Most of us. And that will rid the rest of us. If we get land, we may get a combination. You may get 200,000, you may get land, you may get some other equipment. We get the technical and the military support for like 25 years. But with that land, we could use that money to invest in what we want, do whatever we want. You don't want a people that's dangerous like our people, that's wasteful with their spending in that land. You don't get fools coming into a new land with these destructive behaviors. We're going to have to build a restoration resource center. After slavery, there was nowhere we could go to knock on the door, say, hello, I'm Johnson. I need to get back to being Kunte Kinte. I need my roots. I need the essence. I need my Muhammad. I'm one worthy of praise. I need something other than this nigga and Negro you made Caucasian. It's a damn Frankenstein. And the thing about Frankenstein, the worst thing about Frankenstein is not Baron Frankenstein, the father of Dr. Henry Frankenstein, who had an idea to take a dead man and use a brain to bring him to life, a newly fresh brain. He sent Fritz to the university to go steal the brains, and dumb Fritz, clumsy Fritz, took the regular brain and dropped it. He panicked, so he grabbed the criminal brain. And the doctor told Henry Frankenstein, he said, you know, this brain you put in this man that you made through the light of life of lightning is a criminal brain. And Dr. Henry Frankenstein said to himself, this is my man. He wanted to make a man. And he made a Frankenstein. Frankenstein is not the monster. When the monster came to life, he was seeking the light. Dr. Frankenstein, Henry Frankenstein, sat him down. No, sit down. He was reaching for the light. Daddy, he reached out to him as his father. Father. He said, no, sit down. He made him cold. Gave him a Caucasian upbringing. That's what you do with your babies in the stroller. You kept black women from truly nurturing white babies, being attached to them as you care for their babies. That's what the stroller's from. They keep you a distance from them. They don't want you attached to them. Because they're numb to your suffering. That's why they inflict so much pain on us. They're numb to it. They don't want any empathy towards us. The monster, after sat down, and then Fritz, the idiot, was brutalized, was beating him with the whip. Who got beat with the whip? Was robbed of the knowledge of self with another man's mind, a criminal man's mind. America was a criminal colony from Europe. They let out all the criminals and dregs over here. And they got that mind today. the biggest prison system on the planet. And most inmates are black. Poor black, ignorant people, ignorant to the knowledge of themselves. The wicked person, or wicked power in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, it's not the monster. His name was not Frankenstein. Frankenstein refers to the house of Frankenstein. That's an institution. And we're dealing with an institution that's driven behind the scenes in secret to keep us a permanent underclass. $500,000 land. Did you know that? Now that's for us. That's unique for Hempstead. That's about $12 billion. And if we have the option, we must. You just cannot let this go. And if you get your whatever monetary amount it is, most of us gonna waste that money. Paul Getty Jr. used to brag about that. The big oil tycoon, he went over to Saudi Arabia in the East back in the 50s. Excuse me, he could sniff out oil. he was very successful because he gave them better deals. Muslim Saudi Arabia. And he dared people. He said, the socialists said, you take my wealth? He said, the people are so mentally dumb, deaf, and blind and foolish. We control their education. He said, you take all my wealth and give it to them. He said, in 10 years, I have it all back. Because you're going to spend it on them. You're going to buy their cars, you're going to buy their gas. Damn, gas alone. Look. All of that is controlled by the Dow, by the House of Rothschild. The houses of our exploiters, oligarchs. They control the Dow on interest rates and everything. And it just showed you in the last 2 years, you were just shown right before your face one of the biggest transfers of wealth in history. How they will always keep their wealth. And if you do get reparations with money, most are going to spend that money and they're going to be in the worst condition than they were before the money. Some of us not. Some of us, man, we're going to build a new world. We're going to build heaven. You can't wait to get resources, land, money. Go look at our brothers here after farms in Georgia. You got 1,000 acres of land, which is a shame. We think we're doing something. That's our own land we're buying back. We lost millions of acres of land 100 years ago, last 100 years, through construction schemes, tax schemes. Some old no good cracker, the same plantation owners. They tricked us before. We came into those governments and the legislators and got us through taxes, took in millions of acres from us. Now we're getting a little back and we think we're progressing. This is restitution, restoration, reparations. It's not a game. It's a comeback. They owe us more. Then as Farrakhan said in a speech back in the 80s, a while ago, add it up. If you add it all up, you owe us the whole damn country. We got to rebuild on a restoration resource center. We could do this in Hempstead. We got to stop the MDA. We got to get compensated. $1 billion they owe us for the black tax. That's for Hempstead. Sorry. The black tax individually, you should get in addition to reparations. In addition to the $500,000 Native Black Americans, you get $500,000 reparations. All black Hempstead. All black Hempstead. Caribbean, African, immigrant, all. If you were a homeowner and you've been paying your property taxes the last 20, 30 years, you've been paying a black tax here. They owe you from $200,000 to $300,000. That's just in 20, 30 years. Imagine what they took from us for hundreds of years. Think over this. With the Restoration Resource Center, we can learn how to spend our money to get the investments with those of us who are industrious. Because what they do, matter of fact, you shouldn't even call these people immigrants. From India and China, and you see a lot of people coming into the medical institutes. You see a lot of these immigrants, the brain drain. These ain't regular people leaving China. These ain't regular people leaving India. You know how much suffering poor people and ignorant people in India, especially black. If you black, you the untouchables. They got you in ignorance. You're suffering severely over there. Them white supremacists in India. Dravidian black people called the untouchables. Goddamn. They ain't coming over here. It's the doctors coming over here from medical school. Your brain trained in India, making you think that these are your competitors. These are not your competitors. The Chinese are not your competitors. The Spanish speaking from Honduras and Central America, these are not your competitors. These are ambitious. These are immigrants. These are all immigrants. They're a whole different class. Immigrants are a whole different class of people. They ain't no regular person. That's like black people who leave America to go over to Africa. That's a whole different mind. In Ghana, especially Ghana, we love Ghana because we speak English. A lot of us come from there. Ashanti. In Nigeria, and going to these other African countries, they ain't regular black people. They ain't Ray. And that's a conscious black person. It's an industrious black person. It's a businessman, businesswoman. Good brother of mine over there got farmland, chicken land, a rubber tree, forestry, plantation, growing rubber trees and stuff, and all types of goods and stuff. These ain't regular black people. These are industrious people. You don't call them black Americans. Matter of fact, the Africans over there have a contemptuous name, Akata, some sort of name and stuff like that. It's the same contempt we have for these industrious immigrants. They're all immigrants, whether they're Chinese, whether they're Arabs, whether they don't come to help us. We built this country into a mountain of gold, into a superpower. You ungrateful bastards, immigrants, come in here, getting more gold for your labor. And yet the bearers of that burden, you look over, you spit on, you trample over, or you're lazy. You need to be smacked in your mouth. You need a Will Smith smack for that. Leave this out your mouth, really. Because when we wake up, the mighty tribe of Shabazz, we're going to take it all. You always land, 500,000 each. Black, Caribbean, Africans, and other immigrants in America. In Hempstead, black Hempstead homeowners, they owe you $200,000, $300,000 compensation. All of Hempstead owes that compensation, $1 billion immediately. For homeowners, small business. None of it go to the village board. None of it go to the school board. All that go towards a restoration resource center. With a militant group to oversee it. You Negro sellouts, man, just need to be smacked, man, in the damn mouth. It's unique. And the door is still open to where if blacks, native blacks in America, we get the 500K, or we get the land here or abroad, or we get dual citizenship, like Israel. We have a precedent, we giving reparations to the Japanese. What was that, 20,000 for a year? They were in intern camp. In the 80s, they gave that to them. Jews in the Holocaust, Americans have given Jewish Holocaust survivors money. Go do your tax return. It's a list. So you were a Nazi Holocaust survivor, if you got compensation from Nazism, that's an American tax code. That's the claim. That's a, what you call that? A deduction. Where's our deduction? We built the country. We built this mountain of gold. And when you scavengers come over, scraping up, you don't come to help us. We're mentally dumb, deaf, and blind, out of our mind, made into a nigger and Negro, all the trauma. You just heard me speak of the traumas we went through. Nobody else went through that. Robbed at everything. Those are complexes we still have. I hear it. I remember from the 70s. Out of that plantation talk. Oh, don't do this, scared white folks. Good hair. Good. What's a light-skinned black man? What is my position? Isn't it a privileged position amongst mentally dumb, deaf, and blind Negroes? One man came from us. Who was my complexion? I have Master Fard Muhammad. I have him on the wall. Master Fard Muhammad. And his father wanted to come for us. He was a so-called dark-skinned black man. Alfonso. Master Alfonso Muhammad. Loved us so much. And he gave his son. He wanted to come. But he couldn't. Sent his son. He had a daughter first. Then he sent his son, looking almost like me. Some taller, slanky. I don't know, the pandemic gave me a little pandemic belly. I always keep trying to knock it off and on, man. It's a difficult task. The Master Fard Muhammad came without observation. He came in the early 1900s before he announced himself. He came for us because he loved us. It's like my sister Fatima Muhammad would say, all praise due to Allah, it's the most beautiful love story. The man that came for us. None of you came for us. Not even Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey loved us because of our industrialness, but he loved our people for the Pan-Africanness. And our people sold out Garvey. It was W.D. Boys and the Talented 10th, the Niagara movement, the NAACP. I think they called him a gorilla or something like that. Marcus Garvey loved our people in general, and he came for us. But then they sent him right, he was unsuccessful in Jamaica. And that paper didn't go anywhere. He came to America, he flourished. We love Marcus Garvey. And he came for us, and he underhanded us, and we helped undermine him. Crazy Negroes. That's why the FBI was formed, to kill Marcus Garvey's movement. J. Edgar Hoover. That whole movement was formed to destroy that powerful black movement. So Marcus Garvey had success with us, and we betrayed him. Beautiful black man. You should have him on your wall. He should be taught in the school. Brother Dr. Umar Johnson is building a school with him. Marcus Garvey didn't sacrifice for us, though. Master Fard Muhammad sacrificed for us. Sacrificed everything. And was willing. He said, I'll climb a mountain 40 miles high and eat rattlesnakes to illumine one of our minds to free us, black people in America. That's why Nation of Islam Muslims, we have this special connection with original people. We love that word, original black. That black, if you listen to it, it's a little different than the English black. There's enough in there, but the essence of that black is something in our being and bearing that connects us to the universe, connects the womb, the black woman's womb, black mind. Where creation is. It's creation in the world. You got to change your mind. You have to change a new light in life. That's the real repair. And we have to build restoration resource centers to implement it. We can do it. We're right in Hempstead. We need that compensation for that $1 billion. Reparations. Get the center. Get rid of the sellout Negro organizations, man. Nobody came for us except one man. And you're looking at the manifestation of that spirit of the teaching. That's Farrakhan. Right here. We've been pushing this program. Nobody else put the program. It's backwards. Y'all can't read this. But I'll show you the imagery. Get a Final Call newspaper. You'll see it on my, when I'm walking around and you get the paper from me. But look on the back page, what we want is freedom. And reparations can be done and we can implement it. And there's another option, one more, what is it, 10 o'clock? Oh, 9:46, almost there. I'm wrapping this up, y'all. There's one more option for our Caribbean brothers and sisters, especially from Jamaica. Now, Jamaica is a unique instance in Hempstead. Jamaicans in Hempstead is unique. If I believe that reparations, Jamaicans should get their reparations from Britain. Haitians should get their reparations from France. Goddamn, France is getting reparations from Haitians. And them kicking their ass. I wish the Haitians would have came up here more with us. They were fighting with the Americans. They weren't fighting for us. And they came to America. The Haitian army. Did you know that? That's where I think the Napoleon pulled out after the Louisiana Purchase was done. The same wicked ass bankers. Did you know that the same bankers that I think it's Hope and Broaders, British bankers, were financing America, France, America and France, and England, financing all sides. Napoleon got the loan from a British bank. He supposed to been fighting the British. They're wicked deceivers. The devil promises only to deceive you, but Allah never fails on his promise. And if you're from any other colony, you're colonized. This is who you get compensation from. But in Hempstead, now we all get the 500K, Native Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, whatever you want to call it, ADOS, who built the country, who built the mountain of gold for hundreds of years. It's very simple. If you want a late 1800 census, your people, you are part of that group. You're part of us. We get the 500K or the options. But in Jamaica, y'all, if Hempstead, we get that resource restoration center, and we start working towards reforming, and I think within the context of Black organizations, if you are a member of a militant Black organization, you should get the reparations. The nation, if you every member of the Nation of Islam, under the leadership of Minister Farrakhan and other Silas and other groups, if you're members of that Nation of Islam, you're a Black nationalist group. You've been fighting for reparations. If you are from the Caribbean, Jamaica, Haiti, or Africa, anywhere, even Latino, in organization, we are an organization who live for repaying our people, reparations. You should be a part of it. You could be a part of that as our organization. Or if you're part of the Black Panthers, being a part, which is, we really not know huge numbers, you know. Nation of Islam, not as huge as you think it is. Many of us, our numbers from the rallies and everything, the meetings and stuff, was friends and associates and families. And as far as I got an army you see and an army you don't see. And when you don't see, it's huge as hell. Vicious heavy hitters. We want to see our people free. They sacrifice so much. They're tired of this bullshit, man. We want to get out of our condition. And our brother that formed the Not Effing Around, it's our brother Grandmaster Jay. Some people are debating whether his connection as an agent, I don't know, that need to be left for investigation, but his organization, the members, should be a part of reparations. He's a part of it. Any major Black organization, not the Negro, the sellouts, y'all should be part of compensation. You goddamn sellouts. On that Hempstead Village board, your ass should, assets, your ass too, your asset should be taken from you for selling us out. You've known about it. We've been warning you. We've been begging you, pleading you. Come on, get with the grassroots. Help your people and community. And you side with our oppressor. You agents that work with the CIA and the FBI. We should seize your assets and ostracize you and exile you from the community. And if you come back, well, there is no comebacks. It's selling us out. We want to be free. It starts economically. But it should be options and reparations. In Hempstead, we're very unique. There's 25,000 Black people. That's like 12 billion. And if we build institutions, which will have to be around these crooked ass developers and planners, gentrifying us, they devitalize us. They would love for us to invest money in Hempstead. They're trying to take it. They're thieves. They're barons. They're pilferers of nations. Same colonization. You use colonized minds to do it. And pretty black faces to sell it to you. The preachers, you sell out preachers, man. Some of you still got white Jesus on the wall. Went to a black church. A Negro preacher. I never forget it. I gotta say this, man. Because y'all ain't gonna change until people force you to change it. Unless you get shamed to do it. A Negro preacher that introduced Waylon Hobbs at, remember I did the overview of the State of the Village? I call it the True State of the Village. The Negro preacher in his church, I was in there. I believe it was a funeral. He got up when he was sitting down to speak. He was sitting down to speak. It was him. As he sat down, and when he went to go speak, he stood up to speak to him. And right before he did that, he looked over to his right a little. He looked over to his left. He said, "All lives matter." It's like, God damn, what are you talking about, man? Who are you talking to? You're in a black church. He's so scared of what they've been so turned out, man. They've been so, they've been so compromised. They've been so compromised, man. It's like an elephant. A baby elephant, you raise a baby elephant, and you tie it to a concrete steel. I'm talking about a super steel beam in the ground that goes down 20 feet and nothing will move that. 20 elephants couldn't rip that steel beam out of the ground. And you tie a chain to it. And you put the baby elephant on the chain. And you train that baby elephant that you're constricted by the chain. That elephant will grow up. That elephant will grow up constrained by that chain physically. And as that elephant grows up, you could replace that chain with a cardboard chain that looks like it. The elephant will not break that chain. It's psychologically conditioned to be constrained by. This is the mental blocks we have on us, man. Negro sellout preachers in Hempstead. You should be illuminating your people. You should be growing your people. None of you talk about reparations, compensation, justice, restoration, because you're mentally deaf and blind. You don't have Jesus. You got the darkness in your mind. You got that Judas in you, man. Judas was a treasurer. He was upset that he couldn't do with his hands on the purse string what he saw Jesus doing. He got there. Judas sold out Esau. Jesus, precursor for the Messiah, the Maccabi. 30 pieces of silver. The Negro preachers sell out our people, the modern Messiah, for 30 pieces of paper that ain't worth nothing. Judas couldn't give the silver back. They rejected it. But these devils take your papers back. they take their payment back. Because the devil promises only to deceive you. And Allah will never fail in his promise. That's reparations. Black Hempstead. Let me go through my notes to make sure I got everything. Hempstead 12 billion. And others you can be included too if it's fully done, if Hempstead is stable, if Hempstead get a robust economy for black businesses and strong with that restoration center, and you're involved with that, you could be a part of that. Then we can help you get greater reparations from Britain, from Jamaicans. I'm speaking specifically of Jamaican Americans in Hempstead. This is a unique position. If you are part of the Black Liberation Movement, you've gone to the African Poetry Theater, you are part of you were in the Slave Theater in Brooklyn. You were part of that Black Conscious movement in New York, and specifically in Hempstead. If you were part of that, then you should be get something to be a part of the greater us. And may Allah bless us, man. We're going to do okay, and reparations will be icing. But like all good things, don't you know that reparations ain't gonna come from this British, German, Caucasian American until after you've built an independent nation. Then, in order to spare themselves, they have that fear of genetic annihilation. Kronos complex, can't take orders from black people. Fear of genetic annihilation makes them strike at you before you do that. That's why the white police love shooting, saying, "Oh, felt intimidated, fear. I thought he had a weapon." He does have a weapon. His black sperm genetically annihilates you Caucasian. The numbers are dwindling in the earth. You got fertilization offices in your communities, and you have Planned Family in ours, abortion clinics in ours. Still we producing numbers. You know what our population would be if we didn't have all them abortions? We would still outnumber the Caucasians. We would outnumber the Caucasians in this nation had we not had all those abortions that liberals tell you to do. Which doesn't make a difference anyway, because your numbers are so impotent now. Like at Hempstead, you have the boy, you have the Jordan. If it's the sellout in there, he's white-minded. It's them operating through them. You're the puppet masters pulling the strings. We need sound, solid leadership. Right now you have misleadership. You have sellout Negro preachers who are worried about their funds getting cut off. Most of them paid now. Hempstead Village started offering out salaries to preachers. I was invited to a meeting. Those salaries were given out. It was hush money. Do as I say. I'm not for sale. If you offer me $100 million to change my narrative, or for my firm belief, what I believe, this is my heart. This is all I am. This is what I am. My notes is here. My heart is here. This is what I am. I would reject the 100 million. Because the universe is ours. Sun, moon, and stars. It's all ours. Luxury, money, good home, friendship, and all walks of life. Reparations is knowing yourself, loving yourself. And all will be added on to us. We can do it, like Hempstead. I'm not going to look for any questions. It's almost 10 o'clock. I'll answer the questions after I get off. And family, it was wonderful sitting with you. I'm glad if you find any value in this content, please like, share the video. And I will be expanding this on Facebook Live. I have another Facebook page, just with my name, Aubrey Muhammad, but it'll be a special page simply for podcasting and stuff, along with YouTube. I got to get subscribers up. Please subscribe to my channel, Raw Sphere. Go look down at my YouTube channels. This will be on it. Go like and comment. And very soon, I hope to start giving out gift cards and a signed book of my cookbook, Muslim Cooking with Muhammad. That will be an NFT. So all things are added on to us. We're already rich. Our poverty and our tragedy is because we trust in a government, in a people that do not mean us well, but plan on keeping us a permanent underclass. And when our numbers do rise, and theirs lower, they will control us through robots and artificial intelligence. And if you don't get knowledge, you'll be a zombie. Drugged out, diseased zombie. You're going into your DNA with the vaccine and other awful things, tampering your genetic makeup, your DNA. I'm going to have a part 2 of this. Not next week, but soon, because I wanted to talk about what we're going to do with land. You got to protect ourselves against, you got to test everything. Can't let overflights come from chemtrails. Can't let them produce a water. That's a whole different podcast. But we're going to get there. All right, family. It's wonderful talking with you. And I leave you as I greeted you. In greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace unto you. Ramadan Mubarak.